How much shock can you stand?
Hey, welcome to another episode of LarryLand. Our esteemed panel. This is the first time we've done something like this. We all know and love Walker. Lisa's here. Kayla's here. Jenny's here. It's like a mini version of the Brady Bunch. We're missing two more squares here. It's a new year. True, we're in the month of February, but it took us a minute to get started with all the geopolitical volcanoes going off and COVID running rampant and whatever for us to get our thoughts together to talk about our top 9 Marvel Cinematic Universe programs. Could have been a movie, could have been a TV show. We're going to go in reverse order from our 9th down to our first favorite property in that MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe for 2021. Straight away, we'll kick it over to Kayla. Kayla, what was your starting with number 9 list of programs for the MCU?
All right. Hello. So number 9, I feel like I got to explain myself. So number 9 is Eternals, not because I don't think they had a fair shot. One, the cast, like, we didn't really have an emotional attachment to anyone there. We just met everyone brand new. Also, for me, I think I was really distracted on the amount of really, really known actors there were. Like, I'm looking at Angelina Jolie, and I'm associating her with all the movies that I've ever seen her in,
Right.
and I'm bringing it to this film. Like, I'm too familiar with all of these actors for me to really pay attention to what's going on. In addition to me not seeing them for the last 10 years or anyone in there for the last 10 years. So it's not saying that I think it's just an awful movie. It's that I as far as if I can turn on any movie I want to watch right now, that probably wouldn't be the first one I'd go to. But again, I don't think they had a fair shot. So that's why they're number 9. Number 8, it is Hawkeye. Now, again, not because I think it's just an awful movie, but it was more so the style of how the film or how the show was created. Like, I was kind of getting it was kind of style-wise, I could associate, well, for me, I see like the DC shows. So you know how they're very animated, they're like kid-friendly, so that's kind of how I was watching Hawkeye. I liked it a lot. Like, we really didn't see much of his personality in all of the films. We saw a little bit of it between him and, Natasha. But I like that the show gave him an opportunity to have a personality. Like, it was funny. You saw more of him. Number 3, I'll say Falcon. 7. We're going backwards. 7. Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Backtrack. Another thing I want to explain too for Hawkeye. I realized one of my favorite episodes is when they brought in Wilson Fisk, and when they introduced when they introduced the Daredevil world. Yeah. But then I was thinking, like, why is my favorite episode when they're bringing in a character from a completely different show? You know, so I was like, well, like, what is that? So it's not me saying that.
I'm thinking he's got an Aloha shirt on, so that was like right up my alley, you know, when I saw that.
Right. So yeah, so that was that was, I think, my thinking behind that, more so how it was created, and like, not, you know, I had no problem with the storyline. It was just like how I'm entertained. It didn't really meet that. Sorry. So then number 7, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So that was dark, but the reason why that one is lower on the list, I do feel like they spent a lot of time humanizing and, you know, like trying to really see or give you the perspective of the bad, like the quote unquote bad guy. And so it almost made you feel sorry for them. So, and I get very like antsy around people like, no, don't fight. And like same for me, you know, I could kind of compare it to Civil War. So like Civil War, I got very antsy because I'm like, no, I could see both of your guys' side. Like, please don't do this. Like I probably wouldn't turn that on because I get so stressed out. So I do feel like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like for them, it was more so like I said, they really made sure that you understood why the villains are doing what they're doing. Like, you know, and I just was, I don't know.
It was kind of like, were the villains really villains? I mean, they kind of had a good point, you know, that what they were fighting for.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so that's where I was like, I can't watch this anymore. But yeah, great. And you know, again, there's so many things I love though about the show. Like I loved, I think they're so funny. Like I love their chemistry together. Like I enjoyed watching it. It was just those moments where there was any sort of controversy where I got a little uncomfortable. Number 6, Black Widow. I love the movie. I rewatched it actually last night.
Good.
I really liked it. Pretty much checked all my boxes on, you know, where I find entertainment, you know, a lot of exploding things. And yeah, like I think besides in Avengers where she like sacrificed herself, I think this is really they were able to show like her heart and how she really she cares about these people, because we always kind of, I feel like the part she played was like very cold. I don't know, like you didn't see much of her, like her like I said, her heart, her caring for all these people, and from the beginning of the movie to the end, everything she was doing was pretty much because she has a heart. So yeah, I really did enjoy that movie. So now list 1 through 5 was difficult for me. So for as of today, number 5, because it's going to shift. As of today, it's WandaVision. So WandaVision, oh my gosh, I loved that show. I love that show. I think depending on, I'm looking down because I have notes. Depending on like the category of favorite, WandaVision could be higher. So like one of the things I really enjoyed about WandaVision is I do feel like Disney or Marvel wanted to just show off their range. Like, yes, we can do a sitcom. Yes, we can do a 90s show. Yes. Oh, what, you want this type of show? I can do this too. What else do you want? Like every episode was a completely different style. And there were good episodes. And so I like, that was like, I would watch this with my like mouth open. And then, you know, the last 2 episodes where they kind of went back to this, you know, the regular style of however we last saw them in like Avengers. And there's too much I love about that show. But again, depending on what category, you know, what's your favorite writing, you know, I don't know, like depending on the category of favorite, because there's just that show can be higher. Number 4, Shang-Chi. That one, I might be a little bit biased because, you know, have that little Bay Area feel in there. But But no, I don't really know what else. Well written, great story. So another reason why that one was hard to rate, because I guess, I can technically say the same thing about Eternals, where there is no emotional attachment to any of these characters, but Shang-Chi was still able to grab my attention. I don't know. Like I think my expectations were low, because I knew there was going to, like, there's no one in here that I'm familiar with, or at least that I've watched for the past 10 years. But oh my gosh, this movie was insane. As far as why I liked it, yeah, I don't know. I watch it. That's why I liked it. Number 3 is What If. Because I really didn't know what to expect, and I love all the opportunities that, like, it opened the door for so many different things. Sorry, I feel bad because I know you haven't watched it, Mom. But so yeah, like the bad doctor or whatever.
Me neither, it's fine.
Yeah, like like all these different sort of characters. Like anyway, sorry, I'm stumbling over words.
Real quickly, I want to interject. It was mind blowing to me that it's considered part of the MCU. So they made some very ballsy moves and told some very ballsy stories that most certainly will start to pay out in Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness. And there's all the speculation about that movie, who's gonna, after what happened, not to jump ahead of you, Kayla, after what happened with Spider-Man. But anyway, please continue. I just, it struck me in that if they start using, like, Peggy Carter, because the multiverse is cracked, and if you can bring people over, travel, it's like, whoa, that's going to be like very, very serious business here.
Yeah. No, that was like I said, list 1 through 5. They can just all be level. That would be a lot easier. No, I agree. What if anyway, yeah, I really couldn't contain my emotions with that one. Number 2 is Loki. Loki, yeah, talk about character development. We saw a little bit of it. I think it was in Thor Ragnarok, where we see him truly be that, like, good guy. So you kind of saw it shifting that way, and then obviously his final words in Avengers. So you saw that he's officially, like, good. But then that show, oh my goodness, like, well, maybe just because I like Loki, maybe there's some bias there. Like what's similar, I just didn't know what to expect next. I also went into that show with no expectations, because I was like, they're grabbing Him from when he was on his prime bad guy-ness.
Right.
So I just didn't really think it was going to be much other than that.
That's a good point. They grabbed him from when he just tried to take over, the Earth.
Right.
So that was his, like, evil.
Yeah.
Ragnarok hadn't happened yet.
Exactly. So I was just like, what are you gonna do with this?
Right.
So I enjoyed the story, enjoyed how it was, production side, they did their thing. Very, very convincing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like every episode was very, very well written too. Normally I come from the perspective on, like, how did they make this? Because my obsession with, like, film and that side of television. Right. But I would find myself in that show completely forgetting that it's a show and just being completely lost in this. And so that impressed me a lot. Like, how I'm forgetting that I usually focus on how they, where the camera angle is and, how did they make this? But yeah, nope, forgot that. Just went straight into the story. Yeah. And number 1, I think it's because it's still, still the honeymoon phase, but Spider-Man, brand new movie. And, put me all in the feels. But again, I think it's because it's still brand new. Why I'm putting that at number 1. seeing all of the, the childhood Spider-Mans really, really grab my heart. And same though, like I was so certain that they were not going to have those two in the movie because everyone expected it. So, and usually I feel like, Marvel loves to do the unexpected. So I was like, if they were in it, they probably refilmed it and not in it no more. Like,
right.
And so same, like my expectations, they weren't too high because I wasn't a fan of, I can't remember what villain it was, in the other Spider-Man, like Spider-Man universe, but I was just like, I don't really know what it's just gonna be him fighting everybody. I didn't think it was going to have much story, nor get me to cry at the end. So that was a little bit unexpected. But yeah, there's many parts in that movie where I teared up out of excitement, out of like, and again, maybe it's just the little kid in me, like, look, it's your Spider-Man.
I know.
But yeah, same. Like how it was written, like how it was shot. Loved all the surprises. Didn't expect pretty much everything that happened in that movie. But yeah, that is my number one.
Cool.
Was I supposed to talk that long?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
That was a great list too, and I couldn't contain
good.
my enthusiasm. I had to like,
concise.
yeah, I had to interject there a little myself.
Mhm.
Okay, we had a slight potty break there. We don't do that on Planet 8. What we do is we have pots under our table. Like, that's a good point. Pot. No, just kidding. Hey, speaking of Planet 8, let's kick it over to Walker. Walker, your top 9 MCU 2021. What do you got, pal?
Well, I definitely know. And of course, as soon as I start to talk, the dog starts barking.
Okay.
It's like clockwork. Right?
It's LarryLand. Campbell can be part of LarryLand. We're free here. We all got our pajama bottoms on, other than Jenny, who's business all the time. So,
for number 9, I would put What If.
what? Just kidding.
Just for me, some interesting ideas, but I felt like they were using it as a way to kind of lay the foundation for some other things. So a lot of the time I felt like, oh, well, okay, they're sort of telling a story, but it's going to be something that happens in the Doctor Strange movie, or it's going to be something else that we learn about further down the road. And it just kind of all felt like a, what do you want to call it? Build up, but it wasn't, necessarily taking off.
Okay.
So
okay.
Kind of interesting, but not interesting enough.
Hey,
And then number 8 for me was Loki, which is kind of surprising because I usually like all that sort of really cosmic stuff, but I don't know, it just sort of dragged for me. It just didn't like go where I thought it would take me or whatever. So that's
Did you think they were kind of setting up, something in the future with Loki as well, but maybe not to the degree that they did with What If?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a problem with some of the Marvel stuff now is there's a lot of setup for things. It feels like they're trying to lay down the tracks for the train or whatever. Like there's stuff that's going to be coming, whether it's Kang or, Doctor Doom or whatever they're doing. They're trying to lay down all these plot lines and stuff, and they have to do it in these different movies and shows.
They used to do it in the post-credits screen. Well, they still do, but now I guess they're using the shows and the movies to kind of. Apparently, there's going to be a lot of Marvel coming out in the next 2 or 3 years. So.
Well, the fact that we had like 9 things in 2021, that's a lot. It's a lot to try and keep up with. Some of these things, like the films, I didn't see the films twice. I think I did see Eternals when it came on Disney Plus. So I saw it twice, but like I didn't go out and see Spider-Man again because the stupid Omicron. And, some of this other stuff I didn't see twice. So.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
7, I've kind of been going, the middle part for me is mushy. I'm going to say 7 is probably Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is surprised me because I really liked it when I saw it. But then the more I thought about it, I feel like the story was a little weak in places. I think the story where Sam is trying to figure out if he wants to be Captain America is really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole part with him and Bucky and trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then the fake Captain America or the crazy Captain America, John Walker, all that stuff was really good. But then the other part of the story, and I know they had to change it because of COVID, with the refugees and the terrorists and stuff, that part, to me, thinking back on it, didn't quite hold up as much. But I'm excited to see what they do with the next Captain America movie. That should be interesting. Probably, let's see, coming in at number 6. Yes, I'm looking at my cheat sheet. This is hard. I'll probably say Eternals. I think I liked it better the second time around. It might almost be better as a standalone science fiction movie than a Marvel movie in some ways. Just because it's so big, like they're like basically saying these giant space gods came and created everything, and it's kind of like that's a lot to like put into the Marvel universe. So I don't know, that's a lot to deal with. So, but the second time around, there's a lot in there that's entertaining, but there's a lot of heavy concepts in there. 7, I would say, is probably Black Widow. Or not 7, sorry, we're going the other way. 5, right? Black Widow, which I really liked the character, and it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. I think there are things they could have done a little better, but all in all, I really enjoyed it. So let's see, that's 4. I kind of struggle between WandaVision and Shang-Chi. I'll probably say Shang-Chi. It's another one I only saw once. If I saw it again, it might pop up higher. Very entertaining. Again, a character I didn't have a lot of connection to. So, like Kayla was saying, you don't go in automatically with that emotional attachment. So there's a little less there, but it was really well done, really spectacular. And then I guess it's the final 3. WandaVision, I guess, would take that 3rd spot for me. Yeah, I think it started off real slow and it was confusing. Like, what are these guys trying to do? But it had a lot of emotional payoff. It was one of those things after you saw it, you just keep thinking about it. Like, all those things that happened, like, to the characters. So it had a lot of emotional heft. And then I don't know if for 2 and 1, I don't know if it's because these are the things I saw most recently, but I'd put Hawkeye at 2 just because I found it really enjoyable, and I really didn't care that much about Hawkeye as a character.
Right.
But then seeing him in the show, it was really interesting learning more about him and kind of seeing his struggles and his personality, and it was just an entertaining show. So I really liked that. And then Spider-Man was just incredible. It was just like unbelievable. So I have to put it at number 1.
Cool.
Wow.
So that's
I will say this Hawkeye, and again, for those on the panel who haven't seen Hawkeye, I don't want to give too much away.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a piece of dialogue where this hero worship, and she says to him, "You have no powers. And I saw you jump off a building. Not a one-story building, a building." And at one point he's having trouble with his hearing aid. He has a hearing aid now, and his relationship with his family. This was the show. I should wait till it's my turn, actually. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go.
Yeah. Okay, Karen, we have such an appreciation and an affinity of almost everything. I mean, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, but sometimes our lists are so different. And tonight's going to be one of those lists, which is okay. Which is okay. Hearing your guys' lists and the why and the reason why things show up on the list as they do is enlightening to me, and makes me think of things that I did not consider in making my list. Maybe. I tell you what, let's have some more fun. Let's kick it over to Jenny. Jenny, take it away.
So, kind of like I was going there, I don't have a list. I wasn't told to make a list, but I know what I liked and I know what I didn't like. And being that I didn't have an opportunity to see all of the contenders on the list, I felt like making a list of what I like was not fair.
That's cool.
So, just to start off with, I guess my commentary is that I did not watch What If. I watched some, and I think that's sorry. I'm looking. There was a lot that came out in 2021. So I would say, let me reverse it. I'll go top 5. Kind of reminiscing on all the TV shows, movies I've watched. I think number 1 might be Loki. I think with Loki, I think it was an easy show to stomach. Like everyone's kind of saying, it's a good character development. You felt attached to the characters. It's very kind of, if you really think about it, at least for me, kind of gut-wrenching, especially at the last parts of the episodes there. Right. And for me, it opened up with kind of the last episode. It kind of opened up just more commentary with fellow colleagues and like, what if this, what's going to happen this, and this is me coming from a person who knows Marvel but doesn't really know in depth. So this is coming from a non-educated mind with Marvel. Number 2, I would say WandaVision. I would say WandaVision because I liked how different it was. I kind of agree with Kayla with, I guess, this being the first series that Disney Plus released. I think they represented it and showed up very well. Very kind of first 3 episodes, I think, talking with other people, first 3 episodes were very different, which kind of made it a little bit harder to stomach. But once the 3rd one happened, the 4th one kept on going, it just hooked you in. This was a show that I really looked forward to watching. Every episode was great, especially at the end, very similar to Loki. It was just very good storytelling. I think it closed it off really well, even though I guess it really didn't really close it off as Marvel likes to do. So WandaVision is definitely number 2. I actually really like Shang-Chi for number 3.
Nice.
Kind of that one is very kind of similar to my reasonings, very easy. I though came in with a very low expectation. It was enjoyable. It was a very easy Marvel movie to kind of watch if you never even watched the rest of them. Just very enjoyable overall. You didn't feel stressed to like connect the puzzle pieces and all of that together. So it's very enjoyable, very chill. I like the dynamic of the characters, the creatures, of course, like you said, the connections with the family, Shang-Chi, and it was very comical. It was a good comical kind of outlet there, because I feel like sometimes it could be a little cheesy, kind of try hard, but this one is very funny, like just easy to laugh it off, all that
right
good stuff.
I thought
and
this was an entry level Marvel movie that you didn't need to know about how Tony built the armor and his hammer. You could just go to this and be like, oh, okay, cool, the 10 rings, and
yeah, and I like that. And even like just the 10 rings and kind of divulge that, and it connects you to, back in Iron Man this. So it was kind of like a nice little taste of everything, because Marvel can be a little overwhelming. It could be a little bit too much. And I think my number 4 is actually Eternals.
Okay.
Kind of the opposite reason for Kayla. I actually was shocked they got Angelina Jolie. kind of like they could get her, but I think she played her role well. It was willingly Angelina Jolie. It was like she was playing this character who had trauma. The dynamic of the family was great. The reason why it's kind of in that spot, kind of a middle tier, is that you didn't really, no connection, really strong connection to, any individual persons. But I think the movie The Resurrected was wonderful. Aesthetically, it was nice. It was definitely, I think, a different Marvel movie. And I could also agree with Karen on her point was that I could see where it could have been a solo, because looking into the Eternals itself, that's a whole other planetary black hole thing that we have to get into. So still like the filmmaking, the way they presented it, I liked it a lot. And then as far as my favorite, I felt like I wasted my time as Black Widow. I hated that movie. Know that it was a build up to, of course, probably Hawkeye, and her. I just felt like it was her sister's story. I loved her sister. Very heartfelt. I loved it, but it just nothing about that I think was Black Widow. And I think not necessarily Marvel's fault, and I'm not really a Black Widow fan, but I just feel like when it comes to single woman representation movies, they really dropped the ball in this. With all the movies that came out prior, they could have done. She was so good. They represented her so well in others, but they couldn't keep that same oomph that they had for Black Widow. I was kind of bored with the movie. It just really missed a lot of marks for me.
Yeah.
And then really going back, kind of backtracking, I think that Spider-Man would be, I guess, my number 6 after Eternals. I thought it was a good movie, but it felt kind of like a filler episode. Don't get me wrong, all 3 of them were great, the dynamic together, but this really, for the hype that it was definitely a filler movie to me. It felt like I enjoyed Venom more than Spider-Man 2, the Spider-Man movie. I know, I'm sorry. I know, oh God. I know, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna leave right now.
No,
I'm leaving.
You're good. Good.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man No Way From Home was great. I preferred, the ending was great. The ending, I think, was the best part of it. Maybe a little bit in the middle, but compared to its, I guess, cousin movie or brother movie, it was in the middle of my ranking. And then just one comment on Winter Soldier. It was just hard for me to get into. I think I'm pretty biased because I just don't. Captain America is not on my top list of Avengers. And so it kind of just was hard for me to watch. I liked it. I liked the kind of the little stories behind it, but it really didn't captivate me in the way I thought I would. So that's just my commentary, not necessarily a list, a very bad list, but that's just my commentary.
No, that's fine. And let me tell you, on Planet 8, I am chastised for liking Batman versus Superman. So you keep on preaching that Venom gospel, girl. All right? And don't let nobody tell you that it's not a good movie. Because if you like it,
I'm never going to get over it. He's never going to get over it.
That's
Never going to get over it.
Now, is it Venom 1 or Venom 2?
Venom 2. Both of them were really good, but Venom 2, if you haven't watched it.
I have, and now I'm thinking maybe I should look at Batman versus Superman again. Because... okay. That's why I love you, Jenny. You brought the controversy to the show there.
I did.
Everyone else was preaching that Marvel love, and you're like, I have Venom like top.
I hated it all.
Okay. That's going to be hard to follow, but Lisa, you have that task.
I'm sorry.
What do you got?
Okay. All right. So let me preface this with quite a few that I did not see. I have not seen Spider-Man. I know. Well, I think I was kind of quarantining or something a couple times.
Yeah,
Like I may have been
understandable.
exposed to COVID or whatever. So that's been my, and then the Omicron just not wanting to be in the movie theater. So that was that.
Right.
I did not see Black Widow. I did not even see one
Don't
episode of
bother.
yeah. I watched the first episode. So I'm going, this is my order.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What one did you not see one episode of?
I only saw, I didn't see Loki at all.
Loki, okay.
What I did see was I saw one episode of Hawkeye,
Okay.
and it was just I had hoped that I would be a little bit more invested. I mean, he wasn't like the most horrible, Marvel
He was the least
character.
interesting of them all. The most interesting thing about Hawkeye was his relationship with Black Widow, is what I thought.
Yeah,
So.
that's how. So after that one episode, it just didn't grab me. So that was it. And then I did not see, so Black Widow. Oh, I saw one episode of What If, Major Carter, and I thought it was interesting. And wasn't that the last episode or the last thing that Chadwick Boseman did, his last project?
Yes.
And that really.
He's in 2 or 3, I think, of the episodes. So he voiced.
Yeah. So hearing his voice, and then knowing, if you saw Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, you could tell he was, his health was deteriorating. Yeah. So that to me, but again, I thought it was interesting, and it did hold my attention, but again, I only got through one episode. So we're at so that was What If. So 5. So 4, I will have to say Falcon and Winter Soldier. I only saw maybe 2 episodes of it, and again, it was sort of hard for me to get into. And I think it was not having the cap, and then knowing at that point Captain America he wasn't around anymore, right?
Yeah.
And he died. And I think I was a little bit resistant to want, and then what the hell? Sam wasn't, he's supposed, so I will reserve judgment really on those and on Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, but it was hard, and I only got into like it was 2 or 3 episodes or something, and I remember texting you guys, hey, will this take 4 or 5 episodes into it to really, because it didn't. So my list is going to be like top 3 then. 3, I will have to say let's say Eternals. Totally relate to what you said, Karen, as far as it didn't have the Marvel connections, that we normally see, but I went into it with not a lot of high expectations, but it was enjoyable. And, seeing the, the decisions that had to be made within, the universe and how, so it was almost like looking at humanity, right? And, or as a leader, there are certain things that other people are not privy to, but you have to make those, decisions. And so I thought it was well casted. I liked the diversity. I mean, we saw some gay characters. We saw, almost every single ethnicity on the screen. I love that. And it was so refreshing. I couldn't help but to think, like, if there was a little kid of, East Indian descent here, you can actually look up on that screen and say, wow, I could see myself up there, So I thought that was wonderful. So 2 was WandaVision, and maybe I'm just like emotional. I think I'm emotional. But WandaVision, it was so nostalgic. Did you guys immediately recognize the sets that they were using? You knew what show they were. So that kind of caught me off guard a little bit with the story, because it kind of made me reminisce, about those shows and things. But what was the story of WandaVision? And when it came down to it, just how did she was just experiencing her grief, right? And her loss. And, if we all had that magic, it made me think, like, would I bring my loved one back? How would I, but that's how she navigated her grief, right?
Yeah.
It was so, and then, I remember bits and pieces, just from reading comics in my teenage years, the witches and but I was very entertained with, and actually after maybe the second episode, I binge watched the rest of it.
Oh, wow.
It was so intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Sad. And you all prepared me,
Yeah.
for the, that it was, I can't say that I cried, but it definitely, I had to take a minute, after watching.
I boo-hooed, I boo-hooed on most of these shows, but
Yeah.
there was a given point in time that I would say, if I could keep like Kayla and Jenny at like the age of 6 and 7 for the rest of my life, and relive them, and it brought me comfort, but then I thought, what a cheat, because then I couldn't be doing shots with them, out at the bar. I wouldn't see these beautiful women that they've grown to be, and with opinion. I mean, I have these deep philosophical discussions with them that I didn't have when they were 5 and 6. I was rushing them to go to the potty and stuff like that. So I got WandaVision, and I won't take too much of your steam, Lisa, but the first 2 episodes I was like ready to quit. I'm like, what is this?
I remember that.
What is this? And then it's like 3 and 4 hit.
Yeah.
And I thought about it after I saw the show. Wanda, within a given period of time of like 2 or 3 years, lost her parents, her country, her brother, her love. Within a short span of time, what does that do to you?
And seeing the way, I mean, what, I don't know if the scene where she was a kid with her brother and they bombed the apartment. Was that ever shown in any kind of Marvel anything? Okay.
That was a retcon that Marvel did and said, oh, let us show you another side of, Wanda making the decision that she made, with the Soul Stone, with the experiments and stuff, and that Stark Industries bomb in the middle of their house, and watching the Brady Bunch while the bombs were going off, and family strokes and all that, and Bewitched, and that's where her comfort was. That Kayla and Jenny at the age of 6 and 7 would have been me with some barbecue and some Fenton's ice cream, with us in that Pumbaa bubble. So
right,
I got it. I was like,
so that, I mean, putting all it really, when you put all the puzzle pieces together,
right,
you can kind of empathize with her, right? And why did she make the decisions she made? Well,
not that they were good decisions or the right decision, but it's what she felt.
Right. So my number one, and again, that I feel like I'm so limited, was Shang-Chi. Seeing the cast, Michelle Yeoh, I actually teared up when they first showed her, because it took me back to my, young youth and watching Jackie Chan movies at the Kung Fu Theater. And, again, with as it was in the Eternals, I mean, I don't know, other than foreign films, like if I were to watch like Filipino movies or whatever, seeing the the Chinese culture. So we're not even saying Asian, the Chinese culture represented with such purity. I mean, yes, Shang-Chi is a fictional story, but seeing the family just like in the Asian community, family is very important. And more than likely you have generations Jewish.
Chewie's making a guest appearance
I
on
know. Hello, everybody. So,
No, I agree with you, and with Michelle Yeoh, but all of it, and they embraced it. Oh yeah, we're gonna have dragons in this. Oh,
oh my
great,
God,
okay,
right?
there it is, and we have warriors and battles and secret Shangri-La and stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right,
It was, I mean, visually to me, it was like just visually stunning. The storyline, like it just kept my attention. Like from the beginning to end, I was captivated by that movie.
yeah,
So was it.
cool. No right or wrong order. The list is where you were and what you thought, and I like what Kayla said.
There is a
That's
right or
kind of
wrong
where
answer.
we are now. But what's it going to be next week? Because I didn't get to go through all of these shows like I wanted to, and it's not that I necessarily hated or any of us hated anything. There just is going to be a number 9 and there's going to be a number 1, and that fill in between. So if Marvel is watching this and thinking of hiring us at some point in the future, we're not dissing Marvel or Disney at all.
Yeah.
They're not gonna want me.
you know. So I'm gonna say number 9 was the Eternals. I do have high expectations when I go to these Marvel films. And there were some people that come out before the movie starts and says, well, there's a gay character. Well, there's too many African Americans, there's Hispanic. What's this Indian guy? And I'm like, hey, anyway, I won't get into that whole philosophical discussion, but it
I'm sorry, guys. Chewie has to go.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. We'll pause for a minute here while Chewie has to
It's
go to the
dog bathroom time.
Yeah, does Campbell have to go too?
No, he's asleep well, now he's awake on top of the
Oh.
couch. I was going to flip the camera.
Oh, what a pretty boy.
Oh.
Gonna have a quick word from our sponsor, Dan Curtis Productions. Burnt Offerings.
Okay, is that part of Dark Shadows?
This it is not. This is actually Steven Spielberg kind of gained inspiration for The Shining after seeing this, is what I hear tell. I haven't talked to Mr. King yet. So there are some similarities, not a lot, but it's basically a haunted house tale. Yeah, a little bit of psychological stuff in there, but it's one of those things you can't find streaming. So I picked it up last year online. It's not Shout Factory. I want to say it's Kino Lorber. It is. Kino Lorber puts out a lot of good stuff. The Kolchak Night Stalker box set of the series, fantastic.
I need to pick those up still. I don't have them.
You know, it was cheaper from Kino Lorber than Amazon for a good period of time. I would just check out the site before you invest. Of course, if you don't care for all the additional behind the scenes credits and stuff, the man can send you his old copy of the Kolchak the Night Stalker series. Welcome back. All right, so Eternals, just I love the diversity. Who doesn't love Selma Hayek? I mean, you know, Jazz goes on and what's that?
I mean, besides Angelina Jolie, they got Salma Hayek. It was like,
Right. I'm not a big Angelina Jolie fan, but Selma, boy,
She did such a good job.
She was great.
yeah.
Sure is
Um,
well, the thing is, it's like Ancient Aliens. If you ever watch Ancient Aliens, everything that's in Ancient Aliens was in the Eternals. It's the whole Chariot of the Gods thing.
Yeah.
So Larry, I'm surprised you didn't enjoy it.
Okay, so now I'll have to look at it because we tried to watch it a second time over at May and John's house, and I fell asleep. I was just like,
It is a little slow in parts.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I was talking with Karen when it first came out, and I'm like, so there's this huge celestial in the Antarctic, half coming out of the. And Karen's like, there's so many things messed up with our world in the Marvel universe, all these cracks and craters and aliens and.
Yeah.
Okay, especially in New York. New York is going through it. Like, I was thinking about that in the last movie. I was like, they know this. They've addressed it, that something is always happening.
Are they still there?
And continue to live
The
there.
rent must be cheap, that's why.
It has to be like $2 because aliens love New York.
It's like Tokyo and Godzilla.
Right.
You know, for some reason, they just like are attracted to these cities.
They love their food. Great food over there.
The people in the Marvel universe must all be like in therapy.
Yeah.
Half the population was wiped out. There's like aliens, monsters.
Well, I want to know, how is the Kingpin maintaining his business with half the city smashed, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, number 8 for me was Black Widow. I did not dislike it, you know, and I hate to say I dislike the Eternals. I'll have to watch it again. But the Eternals, you know, it puzzles me the way that it puzzles Walker that I love Batman versus Superman. Yep, I said it again.
He's got that
on to this guy.
Or Jenny was Venom 1 and 2. I'm like, what? Black Widow. So if I were to do a Black Widow movie, I would have ended it with him meeting Tony Stark in Iron Man 2 and told the story of she and Hawkeye in Budapest and meeting, you know, Nick Fury and developing that bond where, you know, she was weeping at Nick's bedside and, you know, when he got shot up in the Winter Soldier.
They should have put out the Black Widow movie before they killed her off in Endgame. They should have made a movie while she was still alive.
Yep. That would have, you know, because I saw it and I'm like, well, this is just so sad because there will not be a Black Widow 2. And I think they utilized the Black Widow character better in What If than they did in the Black Widow movie. She had more meaning and a bigger part in a role. And, you know, the diversity in Eternals. It's a very diverse cast in What If as well.
Sorry to interrupt you, just really quick.
Yeah.
With that Black Widow comment, Like, that's what I mean. What If opened the door to so much? Because do you remember the very end of What If? Like, this
I
universe
watched
lost
that
their
last night.
Natasha, and I'm like,
Yes.
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Where did they
Yeah.
put her, and where did they set her up, and how they said, well, you're not our Black Widow, but we got work for you to do. So, and then the whole, well, I'll wait till I get to Loki to talk about the stones. But okay, so Black Widow, Falcon, and the Winter Soldier, I liked a lot. And where is it? Here. Sorry. Falcon and the Winter Soldier I liked a lot. Isaiah Brandt. The fact that there was an African American experiment, Captain America, I think it was during the Korean War, and what they did to him and his family and how they treated him, and the cautionary tales that he shares with the Falcon, saying, you think you're going to be Captain America and this country's going to support you. And I mean, and right smack dab in the middle of us having a discussion on voter rights, and members of Congress trying to push those voter rights back that have been around for years, and it's like, Black Lives Matter, and what's happening with these young men around the anyway, I really appreciated them going there in a couple of those episodes. The fact that he goes for apply for a loan, and they're like, well, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Do the Avengers pay you? And his sister's saying, they're not going to give us a bank loan there. And I'm like, my God, this is like so true to like the world that we live in. And then, Steve Walker. Sorry. Not Steve Walker.
John Walker.
John Walker. This white guy with pearly whites, and he's the new Captain America, and he's got some, stuff going on up there. Like Bucky. I'm not poo-pooing on mental illness. Bucky has some serious PTSD going on. He cannot understand why, Falcon won't accept the mantle of Captain America. Steve gave this to you, and if you question why you should have the shield, then I'm going to question whether or not you should have the shield. I love that the shows and the movies do play on the past. They set up things for the future, but the Dora Milaje, when they show up, and White Wolf, and it's like, oh, they called him White Wolf, and does a little Kill Bill thing on the arm, and poof, it falls off, and he's like, it was just like, well, look, if he becomes the Winter Soldier again, we need to be able to, I love the fact that Baron Zemo was an actual baron, and it's like he was rich, it's like, okay. For a while there was a meme of him just like, dancing. What was it, like 24 hours of Zemo dancing in the disco?
The white guy dance, yeah.
It was
You
like,
make me want to boot my rating up on Falcon and the Winter Soldier now.
well, I feel terrible that it's my number 7, because
Yeah, me too.
I really, I always tell Walker, I have the rule of 3 with Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, any new show, Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, 3 episodes. If you don't wow me within 3 episodes, I'm out. I just don't have the time to invest in a series in this day and age with everything going on. But Falcon and Winter Soldier, and again, the discussions that Bucky would have with his therapist, it's like, oh my God. Because you ask yourself, well, how could you get over, brainwashing? And he hasn't. It's still there.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yes. Loki, again, I didn't really think about it, but he's at the height of his evil self. The Hulk has just like pummeled him up in, Tony's penthouse, and he's pissed. And he sees his opportunity and he takes it. I think Loki had a diverse cast. they had some real strong actresses in there. It wasn't all, white males. I can't think of her name, but she was from not Cthulhu Country. It's
Lovecraft Country.
Lovecraft Country. Thank you. Strong actress, real good. And anyway, the journey that Loki took, and Tom Hiddleston, great actor, has played Loki forever. And he plays different versions of the character, from the Avengers, from Thor to Ragnarok, and then backtracking and figuring out, well, what did that younger Loki, this is the guy that plucked out a guy's eyeball to access, the thing in Germany, wanting people to bow down before him, and the Jewish guy getting up in Avengers saying, "We bowed down once before," and Loki's like, "Okay, well, I'll kill you." And then Cap comes in, and Iron Man and stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, it was kind of weird that Loki fell in love with the version of himself. But I always say, if I had to do a Wilson on a deserted island with the volleyball in my hand, like Tom Hanks, I entertain myself in conversation frequently. I don't always answer myself. Well, hey,
let's not go too much further with this. Where you're going to go.
We'll keep it PG-13. We'll keep it PG-13. But I actually think now a female Larry. How would that work out? But anyway, we'll go there later. That was the freaky deaky part of it with me, and the fact that she was willing to betray him in the end, and it's like, well, but anyway,
that's what Loki's doing.
And Loki, I mean, if I could make these all number one except Eternals, sorry, no, yeah, bad Larry. Number 5, Hawkeye. Again, this was the show I didn't think I needed to watch. Didn't care for Hawkeye in Thor. Didn't care for Hawkeye in the Avengers. I mean, the whole Budapest thing, I wanted to figure out what was going on with that. And like I said, the best thing about Hawkeye was his relationship with Nat. Yeah, in Avengers, they showed his kids and his wife. And then that whole thing about him becoming the Ronin. And I was like, what is this? The one part that I did like of Hawkeye's character, Clint, is when he was in the jail after the end of Winter Soldier, and he's like, "Oh, there he is, Tony Stark." I'm like, all right, good for you. Tony needed to hear that. But, and I'm going to spoil this. I'm sorry for those of you that haven't seen Hawkeye, because I cried. His hearing aid, and he has a hearing aid because of all the shit he's gone through. I mean, he has no power. He's us. Well, trained us, but us. And before I get into the hearing aid thing, I love the fact that Marvel doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a Steve Rogers musical, and his family took him to go see, this guy playing the Hulk and this other guy playing Iron Man on strings. It was like, all right, we're gonna go there. But his hearing aid breaks, and he picks up the phone and he sees it's his home, and he's like, "Hey, honey," and the girl, she's like, "No, it's your son," and she's telling him, she's writing down on paper what his son, because it's Christmas time. That to me was just like heartbreaking. He's not the man he was before. Age has and work has caught up with him. He still has the smarts and the ability to go toe to toe with, Natasha's sister or whatever. But he has PTSD. He knows he should have died instead of Natasha. Mm-hmm. He knows it. It was her gift to him and his family that she made that sacrifice. And how do you repay that? I mean, that's this whole thing that's going on in his mind. And it touched me. I mean, my heart breaks when I think about it. It was very cool that they brought in the Kingpin, pimped out with his tiki aloha wear. And, there were a lot of us who saw the Netflix. Jasmine just finished watching Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, The Defenders, Iron Fist. You may like some, you may like none. Like, but I'll tell you, the Punisher. Oh my God! By them bringing in Kingpin, all those characters now exist in this Marvel universe. And I think the guy that played the Kingpin played him brilliantly. And there's speculation, well, it won't be as brutal as it was on Netflix. And, well, look, those of you who saw Book of Boba Fett, when Mando takes that blade and slices that guy in half and chops his head off, and Disney let him show that? Oh! So, anyway, and one of the cool things, because Punisher, she explodes that thing and blows, and then the girl at the end, Maya, shoots him. We don't see him get shot, but she shoots him at point blank range. In Daredevil, and I forgot this because Daredevil's how many years ago? He's going to get his Daredevil suit built by that guy that works for the Kingpin, and he's like, I can make armor that'll deflect the bullet or something like that. He's like, you can? Oh yeah, I make those suits for Kingpin all the time. I line his suits with it. Well, then the Kingpin's not dead when she shoots him because he's probably wearing his Aloha shirt with Kevlar. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe.
What if?
Yeah, Hawkeye, it was just, and then, they show the Christmas tree, Rockefeller Center. That Christmas tree shows up in Spider-Man, and they're out about the same time. And here's the like, piece de resistance. To end Hawkeye, they let us see a full number of Steve Rogers.
So bad.
The Avengers. Oh, God. If they come out with the Avengers musical, yours truly is going to go see it.
Have fun.
Let me. I'll leave you home to watch 2001 and Close Encounters. You can enjoy.
Sure. I'll make my popcorn.
I'm gonna do a shout out to Planet 8. We did our top 10 movies. We did top 10 ships also. If you guys, planet8.com, you can go to YouTube /Planet 8. We have our top 10 movies, and believe it or not, Karen had 2001 in her top 10 films, and
sci-fi films.
Sci-fi films, and one of us did not have it in his.
Two of you did not have it in your top 10.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Okay, so Hawkeye and my love of that series, What If? Oh. I understand what Karen's saying. It's kind of like, here's 9 episodes of them setting up future Marvel programs, but ever since the first Iron Man movie and the post-credits scene, they've been setting up future Marvel movies. Now, granted, it wasn't, a half-hour episode of an animated series. It was like 30 seconds or a minute, 5 of a post-credits screen or two. And I'm going to jump ahead a little. In the Spider-Man trailer of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, they got very lazy with their post-credit screen. And they're like, screw it. We'll just show the trailer for the movie.
Yeah.
So, What If is one of the shows I rewatched last night. I watched the Doctor Strange episode, and I watched the last episode where they bring in Killmonger, Captain Carter, Black Widow, I think Gamora. Killmonger was an interesting choice. And it kind of worked for me, though, because once they defeat Ultron, he takes the jewels and is going to screw him over. And they're like, no. It was like this, Shakespearean moment to me. But it reminded me of the tale of what is it? The turtle and the scorpion or whatever. And the scorpion wanted to cross the river and this turtle, whatever, is like, well, don't sting me, because if you sting me, we're both going to die. And the scorpion's like, yeah, I won't do it. They're going across the stream, and he stings him. He's like, we're both going to die. He's like, it's my nature. Couldn't help it. Killmonger's nature is to, and he rationalized it with them too. I'm very, very excited that Uatu is going to show up, maybe in Doctor Strange, maybe in Ant-Man, but the Watcher now exists in the proper MCU with the Kingpin and someone else as we go down the list.
Remember, they showed some Watchers.
They did with Stan.
Yeah.
He was up there talking to them. I think it was Ragnarok, and he was explaining. So that's true. Fair point, Walker. Number 3 rhymes with Shang-Chi. This, obviously, Jasmine was very excited. There's not enough representation of Chinese. She's half Chinese, half Filipino, but Asian culture. Her father as well grew up, watching these shows like Lisa and I did. The Hong Kong film festivals, the Chinese film festivals once upon a time in China, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, all that stuff. But he Dad's been around the Shaw brothers when they were like cranking out, these movies and stuff. And he's been to the studio back in China. So Michelle Yeoh, anything Michelle Yeoh's in, he'll watch. So I got him to watch Discovery. And then I got in trouble because he said Discovery sucked, but no, he didn't say that. And so I love that, like I said, they embrace the dragon. They embrace Chinese culture. They're just like, okay, here, we're in the Bay Area. Trevor Kent, the person everyone hated in Iron Man 3, who played oh god, I can't think of the name now. It's not the come on, Karen, help me out. He played the
Mandarin.
Sorry.
Mandarin.
The fake Mandarin. And fandom hated Sir Ben Kingsley for playing the fake Mandarin. They tried to redeem it in one of the post scenes on a DVD. I can't remember which one. I think it was Thor. It's streaming on Disney Plus if you pull up Trevor. And they show the real Mandarin sending people to get him. They break him out of prison, and he's going to have his comeuppance in front of the real Mandarin. And so that was kind of a cool scene. And you're like, oh my God, when is that going to pay out? Years later, pays out in Shang-Chi, kids. That's where it pays out. One of the funniest scenes to me is when they're like talking, and Trevor's like, well, I knew I wanted to be an actor when I saw Planet of the Apes. And I saw that they could teach apes to talk. That's when I knew I wanted to act. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
He is so oblivious. They were people with makeup, Trevor. But it's amazing how they were able to redeem this like throwaway character that didn't really catch fandom back then, and he was definitely one of my highlights of Shang-Chi. It'll be interesting to see. A lot of people were speculating at the end of that, where was Hulk's cast, and why was he not the Hulk? Why was he Bruce? I thought we'd established in Avengers that he figured out that best of both worlds. I'm the Hulk and I'm Bruce Banner. What happened to that? Okay. Number 2. Let me see who knows me best. Walker, what do you think number 2 is? It's a 50-50 split.
Oh boy. WandaVision?
WandaVision. Good answer. Kayla? Your mute. Your mic's on mute, Kayla. Sorry.
Right now it's between Spider-Man and WandaVision.
Yeah.
You said which one's number 2?
Yeah, Karen already made her guess. Did you hear, what was your guess again, Karen?
You said WandaVision.
WandaVision.
I'll go Spider-Man.
Okay.
I feel like it will depend on the day, but I'll go Spider-Man.
Very true.
Today.
Very true. Jenny?
She frozen?
I think Jenny's froze, yeah. Okay, Jenny, we're going to come back to you.
And you love your wife too much.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jen. I can hear you.
Okay, go.
Yeah, what'd you say my number 2 was?
Number 2 is Spider-Man because you cry about a lot of things when it comes to film. So that, and you love your wife a lot. So Spider-Man will be number 2.
Okay, Stinky?
Wanda's.
WandaVision.
Yeah.
Oh.
He might even be making up his mind right now.
Yep.
He for sure is. That's what he's writing.
I know. I was writing your guys' names next to number 2 is Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Oh.
So the youngins figured it out.
Yeah.
Yay! You're a crybaby.
Because I'm a crybaby. We won't get into the second season finale of The Mandalorian tonight. I'll tell you that much. Although I did watch the finale of WandaVision and I was boo-hooing, and I'm like, I might as well watch Mando now because I'm already in that mood. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Oh my God. All the memes were showing, all the Spider-Men were in it. Godzilla was part of it. King Kong, King Lear. I mean, you name it. And at first, when the poster came out, the actual poster, and they showed Doc Ock, and I'm like, okay. And then they're like, look, this cloud back here looks like Norman Osborn. And I'm like, yeah, come on, guys. You got, And no. I think I saw Electro's, star. And I'm like, I don't know. It'd be so ballsy for them to do. And then we were able to see this with Kayla and Brian down in San Diego. And we had, it was so cool. We had reclining seats. And we ended up having Brazilian barbecue for dinner. I'm going to remember that night for a long time. Man, you haven't seen it, Lisa. This is important. I'm not going to spoil this because...
No, go ahead.
No.
Memory issues. I don't remember anything.
Dude.
I
There
do.
are 3 or 4 things that are going to happen. There are 3 or 4 things that are going to happen in this movie that you are going to shit yourself.
Okay.
I mean, and bring tissue because Jasmine cried.
So both ends are going to go?
Both ends are going to go.
Yeah.
If Jasmine cries on a TV show or a movie, it's bad. I mean, and I will. There's this moment I've talked about that. I've probably talked about on Planet 8 because we did a review of this movie. Is that there's a point in time where Peter is broken emotionally, and MJ and Ned come to him and they don't say anything, and this is the beauty of I related because I felt like my family and my friends are like that. Sometimes you don't need answers in life, you just need a hug. And they said nothing. I'm gonna cry. They hugged on him.
See, there you go.
I know. They hugged on him and they just let him. See what the thing is not just because of podcasts and stuff, but I always have tissue handy in the office here because you never know. I'll be reading something. There you go. And But anyway, it was a very, very touching, beautiful scene. Like I said, with the Hawkeye review, they got the Christmas tree. They have the Steve Rogers musical sign up in Spider-Man. And you're like, I will spoil this for you, though, Lisa. Matt Murdock is in Spider-Man. and I lost it in the movie. I was like, oh my God. And
Wow.
Jazz was like, who's that? Who is that? And I'm like, I'll tell you later. You'll have to watch it on Netflix. So to her credit, when we get home from visiting Kayla and Brian, she binged through Daredevil all seasons. Yeah.
Great show.
That's a good series. That's really good.
It is very, very, and so in Daredevil they introduce Punisher. And she's like, Punisher?
Great episode.
Then she watches Punisher. They introduce Jessica Jones. So this poor woman has been watching all of the Netflix. Not poor. Like I said, I sat down and watched her too. It's a lot of fun. So, okay. No spoilers for the Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't know when it's coming to Disney Plus, but
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to because of the Fox thing. Or Sony.
oh, you're right. You're right. It is not a Disney.
Okay.
Well, you know, Lisa and I have access to another thing we won't talk about here because it's totally legal and legit. But it'll be available, I'm sure, some way, somehow on the internet. Again, Marvel or Disney is listening, or Sony. Good point. Walker brought up. We don't know anything actually.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
We just buy the DVDs.
Crazy.
Number one then was WandaVision. And,
Wow.
you know, it was the first thing that came out in 2021, and that thing stuck with me all this time. And I don't want to butcher this, so I'm going to actually pull up. In the midst of a brutal tour of Wanda's memories and many losses, it is Vision who crystallizes the essence of the journey. What is grief, if not love, persevering?
Wow.
That to me is like so true to life. I mean, you know, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Yes, very true. You know, I'm sure Cap and Peggy, that whole scene in the first Captain America movie where, you know, the general's like, well, you better kiss him. I'm not kissing him. Great scenes, great. But that to me, to lose someone we have lost does not erase the love we have felt for them. It moves the object of our love out of our reach. Oh my God. Not to end on a sad note, but that to me is like, and did someone say they wanted to ask a question, or am I just hallucinating because I'm fighting back my tears? Okay. I didn't like that. You know, I was talking to my friend Jay. I'm like, the first 2 episodes, I'm like, dude, I don't get this. You know, and some people hate it. I think it's okay. It kind of throws me back to like watching sitcoms and, you know, Starsky and Hutch. You have to wait a week to see the next episode. You know, Netflix, you could sit through a weekend and, you know, there goes your weekend. This you had to wait. So the first 2 episodes, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cute that they're doing like Bewitched and okay, I Love Lucy, and oh, now it's the Brady Bunch, and but then I got it, you know, when they started, and they brought in was it Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man, and he learned the magic tricks, you know,
the card trick.
The card, yeah, you know, he was able. Yeah, they developed these characters. Darcy shows up from Thor, and she's a badass. You know, it's anyway. The only disappointment that I had, and now I'm thinking, because I'm like, well, am I disappointed because maybe he's brainwashed and he doesn't realize that he's Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, and maybe with the multiverse cracking, they'll introduce the X-Men by bringing in his Quicksilver, who had the best scenes in those X-Men movies. If you haven't seen those X-Men movies with Quicksilver, I mean, they play like Sweet Dreams Are Made of These, the Eurythmics. It's like, anyway, we'll have another LarryLand where we'll talk about obscure X-Men movies from the past. But I thought he was a far superior Quicksilver than the guy who played Quicksilver in the Avengers with Wanda. But that actor, and Walker, you got to help me, or Karen and Jenny, if you know, the actor who played Quicksilver in the Avengers is cast as
Craven the Hunter.
Craven the Hunter. That's right. And I'm thinking, Craven the Hunter. That's like when they told us that the guy that played the Human Torch is going to be Captain America. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know. And now I can't imagine anyone else being Captain America. So we'll see. Craven, kids, for those of you who don't know who Craven the Hunter is, Google it, buy some trade paperbacks, whatever you got to do. Great character, great story. We'll see if they do a second set of 3 movies for Spider-Man. Actually, I don't want to spoil it for Lisa, but man, the way that they did that post-credits scene in Spider-Man and in, you know, Mazatlan or Cabo San Lucas, I'm like, really? Jenny was very happy, I'll say that, but anyway. You know, the whole and we'll see, because WandaVision kind of sets up, because the real Vision shows up and the government's, you know, tinkered with him, and he's all white because he's erased. There's nothing. The Soul Stone is gone. Oh, and that was another beautiful scene, is when, actually, I'm gonna cry. I won't make it through. Her saying goodbye to Vision in the Wanda universe, and, you know, what am I?
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else talk for a minute. I can't. Yeah. You're beautiful. Scene. Anyway, I'm watching these things, and Jazz is like, "You've seen this like 5 or 6 times. You're crying again?" And I'm like, "Will you just leave me in my moment, please? Can I have it, please?" True story. We were going to Greece a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and we're getting into the plane, and this guy has his headphones on, and he's watching like Avengers Endgame, and it's that part in Endgame when Falcon, you know, tells Steve, "On your left," you know, which carries back to the Winter Soldier of Steve running around the, you know, lake saying, "On your left." Oh, come on your left. And Steve, you know, the shield's cracked. He's broken up, and here's this horde of Thanos's army, and he you know, Rogers, man, tightens that shield up. I'm gonna go out fighting. I can do this all day, right? And then here comes Sam coming through, and all the sorcerers doing the. And I'm getting on the plane, and I'm not bawling, but I'm you know, tearing. And Jazz is, because she wants to sit at the window, and she's like going around me, and she's like, "You can't even hear what they're saying, and you're crying, watching the please." So anyway, yeah, the ending of WandaVision, best ending. All 9 of these things, that's it for me. That, you know, man.
Yeah, that was a great one for sure.
And that gets back to, what would you do to spend, you know, that day or that week with someone from your past who isn't here anymore?
Yeah.
I get it. You know, sometimes we dream about them in our dreams. My dear friend Carlton, he loved the vampire Lestat. And I had a dream one time. Carlton came to me and said, "I'm a vampire. I'm not dead." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Aww.
And, you know, the whole discussion was whether I wanted to be a vampire or not. And I'm like, "Oh, I miss the sunlight." Anyway, things that go on. And
well, I have a question.
Yes.
So, kind of going, as you're bringing up points about Spider-Man and how Doc and the Goblin, and whether, yes, I do agree that this movie, like I said, was it felt for people. It was exciting, but also at the same time, that's what kind of made it a filler episode. It was kind of like a throwaway, to be honest. But my whole strong stance, and I'm gonna stir the pot again. I am sorry. I would not change them. I would have been like with Doctor Strange, don't change them, send them back, end of movie. I'm not sure if I'm heartless, but I'm like, we'll just change. We're going back. It's your fault, Doctor Strange, but I ain't changing nobody. That's not my business. I'm staying in my lane, kind of thing. So would you make the decision of kind of changing them, kind of fixing them, or would you just leave them to be going back to, I guess, where they came from?
A very, very good point. We'll spread that out to the panel. I don't want to. I've hogged up enough time with my 9. Anybody? Well, Lisa hasn't seen it, so yeah, you can't.
You're right.
But Walker's
Until
got that
time.
Walker's got that scientific mind. Walker, what would you have?
Mm.
Would you have fixed him if you could?
Well, since I saw the movie and how screwed up things got, no, I probably would just send them back. It's too much trouble.
Yeah.
Well, but see, stay true to yourself. You know that it's okay, but that's your answer. That's a good answer. Kayla, what's your answer?
Okay, I apologize. So you're breaking up, and I've been trying to figure out what that middle piece was. What is the question? I couldn't catch on.
The question was, in Spider-Man, he had the choice to basically fix them or like send them back, reverse everything. But in order for them to reverse it, they wouldn't be alive, I guess. So would you have tried to fix them versus just sending them back?
Sending them back to their death because they were going to die if they went back. That was the whole thing.
That's tough. I don't know, because I just want to fix everything and everybody. So I compare myself to the moralist, the moral. So I probably would have screwed things up more by still trying to fix everybody.
No, I don't think you would have screwed things up. I think, and that was part of what his Aunt May was saying too. And this is my answer. And even in life, I mean, if you have a flat tire, who are you going to call? If the power goes out and the fuse is blown, who are you going to call? I fix things. That's kind of like what I do. So I understood, especially with his aunt saying, no, we have to help these people. And even though what the Green Goblin did was terrible, it was his mental illness that compelled him to do what he did. It wasn't his normal self. And so look at the good that he did for Doc Ock, Otto Octavius. Look at the good that ultimately the good that he did for them by fixing them. And that again, the ultimate sacrifice of fixing it was, the cost that he had to pay. So yes, very good question, Jenny. Very good answers, panel. Thank you. There is no right or wrong answer. This is a lot of fun. One of these days, we're going to play the Liars Club. There used to be this game show called the Liars Club back in the day, and they would introduce, objects, and they'd say, well, this is actually a horse laxative that you would use to help horses. Or the next person would say, well, this is actually a barometer to measure rain and whatever the object was. And it was a lot of fun trying to figure out who was lying and who was, because one of them would tell the truth and say, this is what this object is. But anyway, I went way off the rails on that one.
No, that's good.
Good question, Jenny. Well, let me ask you guys, if in fact you were to be able to be involved either in acting or directing in one of these fine projects, what project would you pick? Lisa.
Oh, shit. WandaVision.
WandaVision, too.
Yeah.
I couldn't get any work done. I'd be like, Jenny, what'd you go for?
Man, I kind of agree with WandaVision, but I feel like, nah, I'd have to be WandaVision. That was fun. That was fun to watch, and I wish I was there. I wish I was the cardboard neighbor just down the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Walker?
Probably Eternals, and I'd fix the deviants so they weren't so crappy.
Kayla?
That's a tough question.
Right. It's a lot of
I think for the reasons that WandaVision is where it was, because like, do you see their range? Like, I am so impressed with like the style, how the same characters even act. Like, their acting even changed from episode to episode to match the style of film it was.
Right.
So I would just have a blast. You just explore. I'm sure it was a challenge for them too, because I mean, when is the last time anyone has done sitcom? You know, or when is the last time anyone has done like some of these styles? Oh my gosh, why am I blanking on her name? The youngest Olsen. What's her name? Wanda. Like, she kind of had that experience because her sisters were all, like, one of the styles. Her sisters did that her whole upbringing. So like, I'm sure she was able. Yeah, like she was able to, you know, have some. But it was just, I was blown away because like details. I would have had so much fun on those sets. I would have had so much fun like trying to act that way. Directing that. Yeah. So as far as like which one I would want to be in, that one. Because I feel like I would be very limited in roles with like Loki or like or I don't know.
They have like a making of WandaVision, I think. Yeah, well, on Disney Plus. And they show that they did as many practical effects as they could with fish wire and, you know, prop, you know, people like they did back in the day, you know. So that was cool. I don't know. I want to say WandaVision, but for some reason I'm thinking Loki. I'd have more fun with that. I think of all the characters, he changed the most as I think about this.
Yeah.
But you know, if he had to, if they were to try to make him into this like heroic version of himself, or yeah. So. Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. Do you guys have any last minute comments or something you'd like to add? Or
I think I have a comment, but it's kind of, you guys, I mean, it may be common sense too, but we kind of touched on it and it triggered something. One thing with Eternals, because you're right, you know, going to see these Marvel movies with super, super high expectations. Right. I try to go in with medium to low because like I think what makes me so excited one thing that makes me so excited is when these movies exceed them. But I was looking at my list. I think the two that are at the bottom, I'm like, it met my expectations. So like, in no way am I like upset about it or hate it. But yeah, like I was just like, okay, yeah. That was nice. But no, I appreciate that about Marvel, because even going in, because I went in with really high, these movies aren't on the list, but like Avengers was super, super high. Spider-Man, I tried to go medium, but it was still high. It was still closer to high. But there are a lot of these movies that I was like, damn, they did their thing.
Yeah.
One day I'll be there at Marvel.
I hope so.
They're so cool.
I hope and I pray.
I know.
So let me ask you guys before we close this out then. Excitement over Moon Knight. Have you guys seen the trailer for Moon Knight that's coming out in March, Walker? Is that the mid-March, end of March?
Yes, I'm not sure when it's coming out.
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe Doctor Strange. Well, in any case, Any excitement over Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, Ant-Man?
I'm actually really excited for Doctor Strange. Looks amazing. I kind of, for some reason, when I saw the trailer, the end credits trailer for that after Spider-Man, maybe because they showed the trailer, and I was kind of like, oh, like kind of not ewed by it, but I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna be like. And I really like Doctor Strange, but I think kind of being biased on Loki, I just love the Thor franchise. I think he's my favorite Avenger. So I think I'm really looking forward to the new Thor movie.
Love and Thunder. That's right. That's coming out later this year as well.
Yes, I am excited. Yeah, so I'm very stoked, and I wish people talked about it. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's do this again next year.
All right, I'll have a list.
I believe Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be the only Marvel movie that's getting a fourth installment, because Iron Man, Cap, right? They only had 3, and then they bowed out. They did Avengers and some guest spots here and there, but okay, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Moon Knight. I saw the trailer. I'm trying to avoid. I've seen the trailer for Doctor Strange twice. We saw Spider-Man twice. Then I think I saw it online once, but I'm trying to avoid too much of that, because I don't want to, cloud the waters, as it were. So we'll see. A lot of good stuff coming out. Unrelated to Marvel, if you haven't watched Peacemaker on HBO Max, one of my favorite programs right now, as well as the Book of Boba Fett. I know I like things that other people are kind of like, huh? Hey, give it a try if you haven't seen it yet. Best opening credits scene ever. And just be aware that they drop the F-bomb like every 5 minutes on that show, though. So, all right.
Perfect.
My dear friends, family, loved ones, I appreciate you coming out and doing this. Let's do this again very, very soon. For the 2 or 3 of you that watch LarryLand out there, peace. God bless you.
Peace.
Hey,
peace on the streets.
Thank you very much. And guys, look, when it's time to vote, exercise your vote, your right to vote. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Take care of one another. Signing out. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Karen. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
Good.